Okay, so you know how everyone's been obsessed with Meghan Markle for like forever? Well, buckle up because things are apparently collapsing for her, according to Tom Bauer. And this guy? He's not just some random blogger spouting opinions. He's the Tom Bauer. People in power actually fear him. Think about that. He's the biographer who digs up dirt nobody else can find. Prime ministers, billionaires, even the royals. He's taken them all down a peg or two with his books. And the crazy thing is, Meghan and Harry, with all their threats of lawsuits over every little thing, never sued him. Why? Because he's got receipts, he's got witnesses, he's got the documented truth. Bauer basically says Meghan's built this whole brand on being a victim, on carefully crafting a narrative of struggle and royal injustice. But he claims it's all smoke and mirrors. He says she rewrites the past, weaponizes sympathy, and bends the truth until it fits the story she wants to sell. And now he's got the evidence to prove it. The core of it? He says Meghan never really understood that when she was cheered as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, the actress. It was because she represented British royalty. And when she started trying to monetize that to make it all about her, that's when the trouble really started. One of the first major cracks, according to Bauer, was the whole Lilibet situation. You remember that, right? Naming their daughter Lilibet, the Queen's private childhood nickname. Bauer says they'd already bought the domain name for Lilibet Diana before they even told the Queen about the birth. Like, seriously? It wasn't just a tribute, it was a branding opportunity. And when Harry claimed he'd asked the Queen for permission, the palace actually stepped in and told the BBC that he hadn't. The palace never does that. It's like a cardinal sin to publicly contradict a member of the royal family. But they did it because the evidence was so clear. Harry didn't ask, he announced, and the Queen was reportedly furious. Bauer calls it one of the lowest things they've ever done. Then there's the whole thing with her father, Thomas Markle. Meghan painted this picture of a lonely, struggling childhood, bargain salad bars, emotional absence. But Bauer says that's just not true. Thomas Markle paid for elite private schools, expensive ballet lessons, designer clothes, the whole shebang. He drove her to auditions, paid for her car, her university. He supported her every dream. And the famous Procter & Gamble soap commercial story, the one where she claims she wrote a letter as a child that changed the company's advertising, Bauer says there's no record of it. No letter, no response, no evidence it ever happened the way she described. Even her father said he never mailed the letter. Bauer says Meghan started erasing her father when the image she wanted no longer matched the man who actually raised her. It was all about branding herself as a self-made victim. And the Oprah interview? Bauer calls that the moment the narrative really cracked. He says there were 17 proven inaccuracies in that interview. 17! Not misunderstandings, not memory lapses, but outright contradictions. Like the claim that she and Harry were secretly married 3 days before the royal wedding. The Archbishop of Canterbury himself confirmed it never happened. It was a complete fabrication. And then there was the whole racial thing with Archie's title. She made it sound like some senior royal was worried about Archie's skin color and that's why he didn't get a title. But Bauer says that's BS. The rules were already in place long before Meghan showed up. Archie wasn't entitled to a princely title, and it had nothing to do with race. She just tied the two issues together to make it sound more dramatic. And don't even get me started on the "I was denied help when I needed it most" line. Bauer says the palace had logs showing she had staff, doctors, professionals available to her. So, what gives? It's like she's creating this narrative of being completely isolated and abandoned when the reality was totally different. Bauer says the Australia tour was a huge turning point. On the surface, it looked like a triumph, right? Cheering crowds, glowing headlines, flawless photos, but behind the scenes, it was a mess. Bauer spoke to staff who worked the tour, and they said Meghan behaved like a total diva, expecting VIP treatment, throwing tantrums, snapping at aides. There was even a tea-throwing incident. Can you imagine? But the real issue, according to Bauer, was that Meghan started believing the crowds were cheering for her, not for the monarchy. She thought she was the next Princess Diana. And then she realized she'd always rank below William and Catherine, not because of anything personal, but because of royal hierarchy. That's when she started plotting her escape. Bauer claims that long before Netflix, long before Oprah, Meghan realized the royal life wouldn't revolve around her. She didn't want to be a supporting player, she wanted to be the star, and she wasn't going to let Catherine outshine her. Here's a really messed up part. Remember when the Queen died and everyone was hoping for reconciliation? Harry and Meghan joined William and Catherine outside Windsor Castle, and it looked like things were maybe starting to heal. But Bauer reveals that Harry and Meghan had already recorded their attacks for the Netflix series. They'd filmed hours of accusations, they were already edited, finalized. William had no idea the people standing beside him had already taped all this poison. Insults, personal grievances, targeted at the very people he was grieving with. Bauer calls it a cold, calculated deception. Harry was shaking hands with well-wishers, knowing his own voice was already on tape. Claiming Charles lied, William screamed, and the monarchy destroyed his mental health. Like, how low can you go? Bauer says Harry did the same thing at Prince Philip's funeral, pretending everything was fine while secretly preparing to release more damaging claims. But the Netflix thing was different. It wasn't just Harry smearing the institution, it was him doing it in the middle of mourning while pretending to seek reconciliation. It's just gross. Bauer says Meghan's constantly reinventing herself, shifting identities, polished narratives. It's all designed to elevate her status. And he thinks she's been modeling herself after Princess Diana for years. The clothing, the jewelry, the poses, the emotional language, even the whole misunderstood woman thing is straight out of Diana's playbook. Apparently, Meghan and Harry even asked Earl Spencer, Diana's brother, if they could use the Spencer surname not as a tribute but as their family name. She wanted a brand identity that linked her directly to Diana, bypassing the Windsor name entirely. Charles Spencer said no. Good for him. Bauer thinks the Spencer family didn't want their name tied to Meghan's scandals. It was all about image, trying to mimic Diana's light without actually earning it. But here's the thing. People are starting to see through it. Hollywood's cooling off. Producers, publicists, studios are quietly stepping back. They don't want to risk their relationships with the royal family or get dragged into Meghan's drama. Invitations are drying up, collaborations are stalling, the media's changing too. Magazines that used to praise her are now publishing uncomfortable truths. Even outlets that were previously friendly to her are starting to ask for proof. Spotify ended the podcast deal with a really blunt public criticism. Netflix downgraded future projects. Archwell's charitable impact numbers are shrinking. And their public approval ratings are tanking, especially in the UK and Australia. Bauer says it's not about racism or jealousy or royal conspiracies, it's because people are finally seeing the pattern. The stories that don't add up, the facts that change to fit the moment, the emotions used as a shield, the blame placed on everyone else. He thinks we're watching the final stages now, and the unraveling is only speeding up. And his harshest assessment, he says Meghan's reached a point where no narrative can save her. Not a new interview, not a new rebrand, not a lifestyle series. The public's seen too much. The inconsistencies are too obvious, the manipulation too blatant. Bauer's final blow? Meghan's biggest problem isn't the public, the press, the palace, or even Harry. It's that she built an entire global brand on a version of herself that couldn't withstand the truth. And once the truth comes out, there's nothing left to protect the image she created. He thinks the next year will be the most revealing yet. Not because Meghan speaks, but because the world finally stops listening. And honestly, I think he might be right. It's almost Shakespearean, right? This whole rise and fall arc. Like, you can see the wheels coming off in slow motion. And the thing is, she's not some naive kid. She's a grown woman who's been in the public eye for a while. She knew what she was getting into, or at least she should have. I mean, anyone who's watched The Crown knows how the royal family operates. It's not a democracy, it's a hierarchy. And you don't just waltz in and rewrite the rules to suit yourself. But she tried. And that's where she messed up. She thought she could be the exception, the one who modernized the monarchy. But the monarchy doesn't want to be modernized, at least not at the pace she was pushing. They're about tradition, about stability, about maintaining the status quo, and she was a disruptor. Look, I'm not saying the royal family is perfect. They've got their own issues, their own scandals, but they've also got centuries of experience in dealing with the press, with public opinion, with maintaining their image. And she came in thinking she knew better than all of them. And Harry, I feel bad for the guy. He's clearly still traumatized by his mother's death. And he saw Meghan as his savior, as someone who could protect him from the same fate. But he let